Good morning, traders, and welcome back to the Trader Bacon Show. I am your host, Gates Adams. Happy Monday. I hope everybody had a phenomenal weekend. First and foremost, we've got some pretty cool things to talk about today. Want to let everybody know, first and foremost, 80% off any size evaluations, $85 lifetime PA fee for any size account. So make sure to take full advantage of that 3.5 days left on that. Make sure to use promo code Benzinga. You will always get the best price when you use promo code Benzinga at Apex Trader Funding. Go to apextraderfunding.com, get that set up. On that note, we had some winners last week of free evaluations through Apex Trader Funding. Congratulations to you guys, Collins, Jared, and Nima. Jared, I understand you have a question. I will get with you on that. Nima, congrats. Great to see you on here. Collins, I don't know you yet, so hopefully we can get an opportunity to connect. When you turn that that evaluation into a successful PA, maybe we'll have you on the show one day. Anyways, thank you guys for all of your participation. We will be giving away 3 evaluations during the course of this show as well. So make sure to fill out that form that will be in the chat in just a moment. Make sure to get that taken care of as well. We want to talk about milestones because we do this for one reason and one reason only. We want to get paid out. Nobody pays out more money than Apex Trader Funding, to the tune of $1/3 of $1 billion with a B dollars paid out to traders to date. Super exciting. Over $84 million in the last 90 days. That's almost $1 million a day paid out to traders. If you haven't seen the new rules, make sure to check those out. No more 10-day waiting period. No more specific days. A lot of simplification, a lot of the rules. So make sure to check that out on the Apex Trader Funding about our FAQ page. Make sure to check that out as well. Still on break at the Forge Trader podcast, but I would love some feedback if you have not had a chance to check that out on iTunes and Spotify. And I've got 13 episodes up there. A lot of fun. I will be getting back to that as soon as possible, but I've still got a few things that I need to get taken care of outside of that. So it's a great time to get caught up on that. Now, let's talk about payouts and what they can actually bring. You know, we a lot of times we get into this business for the idea of simplicity and freedom. You know, get away from that 9 to 5, 40 to 60 hour a week work weeks. Have freedom of location, have freedom of time, have freedom to live the lifestyle that you really want to build and develop. My guest today, Riggleson, is going to share with us his take on that, and you'll even get an opportunity to see how he lives his life as a result of being a paid funded trader with Apex Trader Funding and his experience and growth that he's developed to date. So we've got a fun one today. Welcome, Riggs, on today's episode of the Trader Bacon Show. Welcome to the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon. Are you ready? Because the Trader Bacon Show starts right now. Riggs, good morning, my man.
Good morning, Gates.
Hey, it's great to have you on here, man. I appreciate you sharing some of your Monday with us. How's everything going?
Pretty good, man. Can't complain. It's been a good start to the week so far.
I love it. Yeah, I had a little bit of a rough start this morning. Took a little bit of a hit, but we'll see how it plays out the rest of the day. So here's the thing, man. We're going to get deep into this as we progress through the show. We're going to talk about that trader lifestyle. What most of us think we want when we get into this, and a lot of times we forget that we want it, or we forget that we can have it. And I think that you're the epitome of what it means to live that trader lifestyle. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about how you got here. I think, you know, as traders are coming up, they really want to know what it takes to get there. And I think that this is a great foundation for getting into some of this conversation with you. So how long have you actually been trading at this point?
I've been trading going on 12 years full time.
Right. Okay. So you're not a new trader. You've grown and developed into this place. Now, I have to ask the question. I think we already know the answer based on the intro, but what do you do outside of trading professionally? Do you have a traditional job or business, or is trading it for you?
Trading's been my main source of income since 2013.
That's
here and there.
Go ahead. All right. So I got to take a step back. So for 11 years, almost 12 years now, out of 13 years. So a year in is really when you got to the point where trading was your primary source of income.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I wanted to make that real clear because it's great to see, hey, I've been trading for 12 years. And if you've got somebody who's been at it for 6 months, a year and a half, and they're not quite there yet, I don't want people to think that it's taking a decade to get to this point. Now, everybody's results are going to be different. Everybody's journey is going to be different. Everybody's got different time commitments, financial commitments, family commitments, and things like that. But the reality is, this is something that can happen no matter where you are in that journey. It could just be right around the corner for you. So what actually got you into the world of trading in the first place?
What got me into trading is I had suffered a motorcycle accident where I almost lost my life, and I wasn't able to do manual labor due to my whole left side being messed up. I mean, we're talking broken clavicle, broken knee, and second and third degree burns on my left side. So I needed something that I could do that would give me the freedom to do it while at home. And then I started looking around. I came across someone that was promoting how they taught people how to trade. And I was under the illusion that I needed some kind of Ivy League education to participate in the markets. And the gentleman corrected me on that. And from there, I paid to become one of his students. And next thing you know, it was a snowball effect.
Sorry for the accident. I know these sort of things happen, but I do hear this type of story pretty consistently, whether it be a medical issue, an accident is in your case, or even COVID and, people working from home or losing their jobs or whatever type, of situation may have led to this. But what you end up finding is that you take certain people who fall in love with the concept of trading, but then they have the time to put into it. What did that time commitment look like for you in that first year and a half?
I was eating, breathing, like I was looking at charts, reading every second chance I got. I mean, I would be in the bathroom, using the bathroom, looking at charts. I would be at the dinner table. I would be, in the car, like every second for about 18 months. That's all I did. Like I wouldn't go out with friends. Friends would ask me like, "Oh, let's go to this club. Let's go to this party." Nope. And eventually it got to the point that they stopped asking me to go out because they already knew my answer was going to be a flat out no.
I remember back in the day for me, I was involved with a company that took a lot of my time. And I remember my manager at one point making this statement, and I think it's super applicable to this, is that sometimes we have to do things that we're not getting paid for so that later we can get paid for things that we don't have to do.
Yeah.
So as we talk about that lifestyle and where you've been able to progress to since then, how was it for you emotionally, mentally, going through this process of, look, we all know that trading doesn't happen overnight, and you're putting in the hours, you're putting in like you're eating, living, breathing, everything is trading. You got friends who are like, hey man, we miss you, we want to see you again, but all you want to do is think about and talk about the charts. So what was it for you that kept driving you in this direction, even though it seemed like so many other things were being set aside?
Yeah, I mean, I even had relatives that just told me this wasn't it or it was a gamble. But, me being a smart ass, I would tell them, well, if it's a gamble, how is your 401k being invested in the financial markets, right? How is your pension or so forth? And a lot of them work for companies that are publicly traded. Mentally, it was lonely. Emotionally, there were times where like I really questioned, could I really do this? Is this sustainable? I doubted myself a lot, but the desire and the fact that I saw how individuals that participated in the financial markets, I mean, they were living a life that most of us can only dream of. The freedom, the ability to go somewhere and purchase something and not even look at the price. The fact that they could spend, a couple months here or a couple months there, and that's the freedom that I wanted. And having that end goal was, even when I fell flat on my face, even when I lost and I went below PDT, I still kept on pursuing it.
I love it. Were you always this driven, or did it connect within the frame of the market?
I've always been this driven. I mean, I come from a third world country, single parent, so knowing where I come from and seeing where I can go and what opportunities and stepping stones that this financial institution or financial areas can offer, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Like I know even if I was to ever get a doctorate degree, I would be able to make a good amount of money, but I wouldn't be able to have the freedom, right? My life would be this particular companies where I'm just having to do whatever I can to continue moving forward.
What do you think was your biggest obstacle along the way as you were going through this process? You were dealing with the ups and downs, you're dealing with the emotions, you're dealing with family and friends, all of this. What was the biggest roadblock in your journey that you really felt like when you overcame this became a turning point for you?
Myself, my ego, the fact that sometimes I would, drink my own Kool-Aid because I've had a good month or two of just nothing but win streaks. And I'm like, oh, I know what the market's going to do. And every time I got overzealous and I got too confident, the market would smack me right over the head. So it was mainly myself. Like, it wasn't the naysayers. It wasn't people not believing, because I've always believed in myself. And for me, it was just me getting out of my own way and being humble enough to understand that at times I'm not going to be right.
I think we see this a lot, and we've talked on the show on both sides of this coin about the fact that one of the most important skills that a trader has to learn is how to lose. But I think it's just as important to learn how to win. There's those days, those weeks, those streaks that we go on where we feel like we're invincible, and all of a sudden we take cowboy trades, if you will. And so it sounds like there was a good mix of both sides of that coin. But it makes me wonder at this point, as you've gone through this process, do you still have the same circle, or do you have a different circle of people that you spend your time with that maybe are more encouraging, supportive, and understanding of what it is that you do?
My circle changed. It changed from people that wasn't really doing much to where my main circle is all traders, entrepreneurs, investors, hedge fund managers, acquisition firm managers, and so forth. So my circle has definitely evolved and changed, and I'm more around people that are somewhat same mindset, where they're looking to level up and they want to be able to continue to have the freedom of doing what they want when they want.
As they say, you're the average of the 5 closest people to you. I
Yeah.
think that makes a huge, huge difference in the world that we live in. So, okay, so look, we can do this. This is a lot of fun, but I know everybody wants to see the charts. Everybody wants to see what it is that Riggs is doing that's bringing him this type of lifestyle and success that he's seeing. So let's take a look at your charts, and let's talk a little bit about what it is that you trade, how, and what you're looking for.
All right. So my main things that I trade are the future index, YM, the Dow Jones, ES, the S&P 500, and then mainly NQ, which is the NASDAQ. So day to day, I used to trade the Dow Jones religiously, but in the last year and a half or two, I've been focusing more on the tech sector.
Sure.
Just because I've been playing also on the equity side. So right here, what you see is my Thinkorswim platform, and I have a 15-minute time frame of NQ. Alongside of that, I have a 1-hour time frame. Below that, you can see that I have a 4-hour time frame. So I'm always looking at these different time frames simultaneously to determine whether do I enter a short, whether do I enter a long. Currently, you see this shaded area, which is basically where price opened up at the 6 p.m. open yesterday. It gapped up, it ran. It was rejecting a daily level that I had here over here at the 20,639 level. And I'm playing these EMA ranges where price comes down to the EMAs. The first retest, I'll take along. Granted, no strategy is 100% right. So, and that's one of the things that as traders, or whether new or experienced or intermediate, we have to accept and understand that there are certain conditions where our strategies are not going to be viable. But every day, this is what I trade, and if I don't see a setup on NQ, I'll just switch over to the Dow or ES, and then just whoever's offering me the best opportunity.
Sure. So what is it that you're actually looking for that gets you into a trade? What's your key entry model?
My key entry mark is usually a retest of either the 200 EMA, what you see here on the 15-minute time frame. And on a higher time frame, it's going to be the 50 EMA, which is what it is here on the 1 hour. So today I was looking at a price to possibly come back into this 20 area to take a long position, which initially it did play out. And then I had to cut out the trade because I had to get on prepare for the show this morning. So So I usually would look for a break and retest of either an EMA or
Mhm.
either of a daily level, which is what you see here outlined.
Sure. Okay, so how does that apply to risk and reward for you? Are you looking for a minimum risk reward ratio, and how do you set that up?
Yeah, so I look for a minimum of 3-to-1 ratio. So
Okay.
if I enter a position, normally I'm risking about 25 to 30 points. And when I'm risking about 30 points, I'm looking for at least a 100-point
Okay.
return. So if I enter NQ as, say, for example, at this 525 area, I'm looking for NQ to make at least a run up to 20,625, right? I want to get at least 100 points. If I'm risking 30, if I make 30%, 30 points back, I'm only doing a 1-to-1. If I make 60 points, I'm doing a 2-to-1. If I'm making 90 points, I'm doing a 3-to-1. So I like 3-to-1 ratios a lot more. And if it's a 1-to-1, I mean, if I'm up on the day, I usually can take it, but at that point I'm sizing down from my
Mhm.
normal, 3 to 5 minis to just maybe 5 micros or maybe just 2 micros just to scratch that itch if I need to.
I love that. Scratch that itch. I know that every trader has felt that. Oh, that's the FOMO that everybody talks about, and we just want to be in a friggin' trade. And yes, it's important to be able to understand and see and note that. It's also important to be able to resist that. But I like the fact that you plan in an opportunity to scratch that itch, so to speak, at a much smaller position size that maybe if it goes against you, it's nobody wants to take a red trade, but it happens,
Yes.
and it happens more often on the smaller positions. Then we're in a really, really good long-term shape. Now, because you are a trader, that is your source of income. How much more do you go into your processes beyond just understanding the charts, taking trades? Are you a stats guy? Do you journal every trade? What does that aftermarket evaluation look like for you?
I do journal. I mean, there's a lot of digital ways of journaling, but I still prefer the old-fashioned way of just pen and paper. I find it to be a little bit more intimate. And after the market, I'm paying attention to what's going on abroad. So I really pay attention to politics, geopolitics, macroeconomics, because these are all things that end up helping in providing an opportunity, right?
Sure.
A few months ago, when we were having a massive sell-off in the market, it was due to the fact that Japan was raising rates. And this was before the US even cut their rates, right? Because
All right.
institutions were borrowing money at a much lesser interest rate from Japan and then using that to purchase equities here in the US. So I pay attention to these type of things to determine, what's the healthiness of the market or the specific tech sectors. And we're talking NVIDIA, Tesla, AMD, Microsoft, because that's what the NASDAQ is comprised of. So I pay attention to all these little things. And then based on that, I'll determine whether if I'm going to take a sizable position as we proceed to, moments or events that are going to cause a lot of volatility. I may just want to size down where I'm just trading micros or I'm just not going to trade it at all. And I'll just wait for the dust to settle and catch what I can catch.
I love it. A lot of focus, a lot of attention on risk management and really understanding. Look, if we take a 3-to-1 position on 5 micros, it's not a bad trade by any stretch of the imagination. Of course, if you have the opportunity to, do you just trade one account or do you trade multiple accounts at this point?
Multiple accounts. So I have a few accounts that are grouped together, and I have a few accounts that I trade them individually. Just because in the past I've had scenarios where I was too overconfident and I ended up blowing 20
Sure.
accounts, or I ended up blowing 10 accounts. And because I want to consistently get that payout every month, so I have accounts that I trade very conservatively, 500, 600 a day across 5 accounts. That's good enough to keep the light bills going. And then I have other accounts that I trade individually where I could be a little bit more aggressive because I want to continue to get that continuous payout, right? I don't want to just blow everything in one. And it's intoxicating, the idea that like, oh yes, I can trade 20 accounts at the same time, make 1,000 on each, which is 20 grand a day. It's great. But then what about those days when you lose, right? And sometimes, it doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it, there are still going to be days where we'll fall into our old bad habits.
Right.
And when that day happens and you blow everything, it's like, I have to start all over. But if I lose 2 accounts, I still have another, 16 or 18 that I can work with.
I love it. So you really are, and I hate to be so flippant about this because it's obvious, but you are treating trading as a business. And I think it's so easy for us to get caught up in the moment of could be, could be, could be. Let's imagine this scenario. Let's build towards this scenario. And while that's important, I think that's a key component to why people are willing to take the ups and downs and the emotional roller coaster that trading brings. Let's call it what it is, right?
Yep.
But when you start to understand that it's not a video game, it is a business, and when you treat it like a business, when you behave in accordance with that, ultimately this is where you start to reach different levels. How long did it take you to get to the point where this really was an overall big picture, I don't want to say job because job's not the right, but as your own business, how long did it take you to get to the point where you really had this sort of full blown focus on what your business was?
I'll say like within 6 months of me trading, where working a 9 to 5 was actually costing me money in the market because I was making a lot more per trade.
Right.
So very early on, back in 2013. So yeah, within like the first 6 months.
That's awesome. So fast forward, here we are, 13 years or 11 years later, as far as since you've really taken this on as your full-time profession, we'll call it that. I want to be careful of using words professional trader because that has a different connotation, obviously. But now that this is your profession, this is what you do for a living, what you do for your income. What does your typical day look like when you're not quote unquote lifestyling, which we'll talk about in a second? What does your typical day look like in terms of hours spent and time and attention in things trading related?
I mean, I spend about a good 3 hours going over charts, reestablishing different levels. I used to spend a lot more when I was based on equities, but when I made the transition to futures, I mean, NASDAQ is the same symbol day in, day out. And once I find levels on the daily or the 4 hour, I just look to see how they played out. And then I'll look to see what's the high probability of it either continuing that direction. I'll do some research to see what happened in the market, what sort of headlines came out, whether it was negative sentiment, positive sentiment, then paying attention to what's also happening abroad as far as, certain companies that are abroad that can affect what happens here in the US. Particularly speaking, like one year's like Evergreen, which was like a Chinese development company, which caused the US stock market to drop 3%, even though they had nothing to do with the US stock market, right? So stuff like that. So I'll spend about a couple hours doing that. And then throughout the day, I'll monitor the market during the Asian session. And then based on how well it's moving or if it's respecting a certain level, I can somewhat anticipate some entries or maybe a better movement during the London session.
Sure.
But throughout the day, I'm always looking at charts.
So,
Like
so
it's
there's when you're free, there's always something to do for sure. Elon asked a great question, and I'm pretty sure it's not that Elon, but he asked if you just day trade only. Do you take any swing positions or do you have any investment positions? Obviously, with Apex, you're only day trading, but what does your trading portfolio look like beyond that?
Beyond that, I have some sizable position in Intel. So this past year, like I've been accumulating a position in Intel. I do some swing trades. I do some option trades as well. Obviously, as you can see, I'm on Thinkorswim, which I'm able to do trades through stocks and options. I have some cryptos in a portfolio and off ledger where I'm just looking for and waiting for the next crypto run. But the last few months, I've been really doing some good trades off of Nvidia, Tesla, ARM, AMD. And after we had that massive sell-off, I ended up picking up Facebook around 450, which actually I could even show you. Like I had some levels that when Facebook was at about 510, and most people didn't think that Facebook would go below 500, and I ended up picking up Facebook around 453, 455, and I've been sizing down my position on Facebook due to the fact that if Donald Trump wins, I know he's going to pick a bone with Facebook because Facebook was one of the companies that silenced him. So these are the things that like I remember, right? Like I write it down, and then later on I'll wait to see like, okay, he won the nominee, and initially I knew Facebook was going to drop, so that I started shorting Facebook in the 530s because I know Trump has a bone to pick with them. Now,
Sure.
if Trump wins, I'm definitely going to be liquidating my whole position, and then I'll look to pick up some puts. But overall, I would say my best play that I'm looking at is Intel, just because we're talking the Taiwanese sector and how Taiwan may, have some conflict with China, and China is positioning themselves to go after them, and that whether they are successful or not, it's going to affect the supply chain.
Of
Meaning,
course.
80 something percent of the world's chips come from Taiwan.
Mhm.
So I've been picking up shares and a couple of leap year calls, which is for the following year.
Awesome. So obviously, a big picture. It's not, you're not a one trick pony.
No, sir.
You developed a deep understanding of the markets, what they mean, how they operate, what surrounding information can affect them, and obviously, this has contributed to your level of success. So let's talk about that, because this is the fun part. What is it that your life looks like now? We talk about the trader lifestyle, being able to be anywhere, anytime, and do what it is that you do. What does your life look like now as a full-time trader?
I travel every month. I'm traveling to places where people probably wish or dream that they can visit. I've been to the Middle East several times. I just came back from Greece this year. I've been to Greece, Barbados, Colombia, Italy. Next week, or actually this week, I'm going back to Amsterdam, and then the Middle East, Qatar, Dubai. But literally, like every month, I'm traveling. Sometimes two, three times. Sometimes I'll come home and I'm literally home for 12 hours, unpack, repack, and I'm back in the airport.
So we're not talking about staycations an hour away from home.
No, no, we're talking 12 hours, 10 hours, 23 hours flights,
Mhm.
Tanzania, Zanzibar, Istanbul. Yeah, it's all over.
I love it, man. And again, this is what we picture in our minds when we start. And I talk to so many successful traders. This is what I do now. What I do all day, every day, is talk to successful traders. And it amazes me how many people have forgotten why they started this journey in the first place, or at least if they haven't forgotten, don't really see that they're there yet, even though they may very well be.
Hmm.
And so when you're off around the world, what do you do? Like, do you trade while you're traveling?
Oh, absolutely. I have a whole trading setup. I have two laptops, a MacBook Pro, a MSI Katana. I have
Mhm.
a portable monitor. I have an iPad and two phones. So I'm still trading when I travel. And to be honest, I prefer it when I'm abroad because then I'm trading the London session, which a lot of times tends to be a little bit more directional bias than the
Right.
US. You saw this morning there was a little choppiness with ES and Q, and we ended up just staying in this range, and it was just moving so fast. And
Right.
and during the London session, if you look between 1 a.m. to about 5 a.m., there was just one nice solid move on ES from that it printed about 15, 14 points. And
Mhm.
usually that's all you really need. That on one mini or a couple of micros, and you're good for the day.
I love it, man. And I think that that's an important piece of the puzzle, because so often we get caught up in the fact that when we travel, when we vacation, we're paying for the vacation, and on top of that, we don't get to work. Therefore, we don't get the income. So it's almost like a double whammy.
Mhm.
Whereas you've taken it to the other direction. Not only are you traveling, but you're actually earning while you're traveling. You're doing what it is that you do, no matter where you are. Of course, if you're
Yep.
trading for a couple hours a day, that leaves you plenty of time to vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was able to request and complete and request one of my payouts while I was in Greece, and it literally got approved while I was there. I think I requested it on the 17th, and then on the 18th, the money had cleared and hit my bank account.
I
So,
love
and
it.
yeah, so the trip was
That's
pretty much paid for itself.
that's a beautiful thing. Pay for the vacation while you're on it. That's unbelievable. Now, you actually post some of your lifestyle and some of your trading stuff online on Instagram, right?
Yes.
So people can follow you at Rig24.
Yes.
All right. So see that down there below his name. Make sure to check him out. Follow him. I know I'm certainly going to. I want to see what Greece looks like in October, because that sounds like it would be pretty fantastic. Man, I love what you're doing here. I love that you've just decided to make this not just a financial instrument, but a lifestyle instrument.
Yes, sir.
And being able to do what you do when you do it, and just live the life that you want to live, experience things that most people never will, and most people will only dream of. And this is not just an annual trip for you. This is like monthly activity, and this is what you do now.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where it's like it's pretty desensitized, where sometimes people ask me like, oh, like, are you excited to be going to this place? And it's like, I travel every month, so it's really nothing out of the norm for me. And again, you know, it's not something that came overnight. It's been years in the making and so forth. And it's not without its downfalls and, you know, and its trials and tribulations, where as far as, you know, blown accounts and getting quite close to getting a payout, or even being able to have, if you're trading your own personal capital, to where you can take something out and still have your account above a certain point. So it's a process. I mean, and you take these base hits, and eventually, next thing you know, you're at home plate.
This is not a lifestyle we want to take on after that very first payout. I would presume.
No, you want to build up. You want to build up the payouts. You want to build out that buffer. You want to be able to get as much accounts as possible. I mean, if you can, you know, work your way to maxing out Apex and getting those 20 accounts, by all means. It's not going to be, you know, a flip of a switch, but as long as you're determined and you're patient, it can be done.
I love it. I know I say this every week, but I could do this all day long, literally. I love these conversations. I love the fact that I actually get to engage and share in these moments with other traders. But we are actually a little over time, so I've got to be responsible here and move it forward. So first and foremost, for those of you out there, if you have not done so, forms for the free evaluations just popped back up in the chat, so make sure to get those filled out. Come back and see us next week, November. Trader Bacon Show starts soon, so make sure to check back Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Don't forget about the time change. Don't miss us because you didn't realize that the clocks have switched. So anyway, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging out with us as always, and we'll see you on next week's Trader Bacon Show. Thanks for joining the Trader Bacon Show, where we showcase everyday traders that are getting funded, paid, and bringing home the bacon.